She was right. That is the part I have never been able to put down. When her friend told her to leave it alone, she looked at that Gila monster sitting there in the trail, slow and heavy and beautiful and going absolutely nowhere, and she said, "It is harmless." And she was right. It is one of the most harmless animals in this entire desert. It does not chase people. It does not want people. It spends almost its whole life underground, minding its own business, and it will sit and let you photograph it from a few feet away all afternoon and never lift a claw at you. She was completely right about the lizard. She was just catastrophically wrong about the desert. Because harmless is not a fact about an animal out here. It is a fact about where you are standing when something finally goes wrong, and she was standing 2 miles from her car in 110 degrees when she reached down and picked it up. This is one of those stories. Welcome back to Doomed Departures. What you are about to hear is a composite. The women are invented, built from the same profile of confident, capable, animal-loving people I warn every summer, most of whom listen. No real person is named. I'm going to call myself Nora, and the two of them Renee and Kim. This is a dramatization. The animal is real, the heat is real, and the specific way this desert kills people who forget that the danger out here is almost never the thing that bites you is very real. I've been a ranger in the Sonoran Desert a long time, out in the big country, near the superstitions, saguaro and creosote, and rock running to the horizon. And I want to start by defending the animal, because it cannot defend itself, and because the truth about it is the whole key to this. A Gila monster is one of only a handful of venomous lizards on Earth, and if you have never seen one, it is a genuinely stunning creature, black and orange, beaded like it was made of stones, thick and slow and ancient looking. And it is about as dangerous to a person who leaves it alone as a rock is. It is not aggressive. It does not hunt anything your size. It is slow. It is shy. It spends the vast majority of its life down a burrow out of the heat. And on the rare day you see one out in the open, the entire correct response, the only response, is to stop, look, take your picture, and let it go about its day. It has exactly one way to hurt you, and it will only ever use it for one reason, which is that you have grabbed it. A Gila monster bites in self-defense, and never otherwise, and I need you to hold that because it means every single person this animal has ever hurt made the same choice first. They put their hand on a wild animal that wanted nothing to do with them, and it is not even a common sight. You can hike this desert for years and never see one because they are underground for the vast majority of their lives, waiting out the heat and the cold in burrows, coming up for only a handful of days across a whole year. A person who sees one in the open has seen something rare and quiet and old, an animal that was here long before any trail was, doing exactly what it has done for a very long time, which is nothing that concerns us at all. The right feeling to have looking at one is not fear, and it is not the itch to grab. It is a kind of luck. You got to see the thing that almost no one sees, and the only thing it asks of you in return is that you let it keep being the thing almost no one sees. Renee and Kim came through the trailhead on a brutal morning in June. They were friends, in their 30s, fit, outdoorsy, the kind of women who did this all the time and were good at it. Renee was the bold one, the one who ran ahead and climbed the thing and touched the thing, and she loved animals, truly loved them, and had that specific confidence around wildlife that comes from a lifetime of animals liking her. Kim was steadier, the one who carried the first aid kit nobody ever used and read the signs all the way to the bottom. I gave them the talk. That is where this starts, and I gave them all of it. The heat first, because at 110, it is the heat that runs the whole desert. The water they needed, the fact that there is no shade out where they were going and no water and no quick way back. And then I gave them the wildlife part, the part I give everyone, which is that out here you look and you do not touch. I told them, specifically because I always do, that we have rattlesnakes and we have Gila monsters, and that both of them are calm and beautiful and will leave you alone, and that both of them will hurt you badly if you reach for them, and that a Gila monster in particular is famous for one thing, which is that when it bites, it does not let go. Renee smiled at me the way the animal people always smile, warm and a little amused, and told me she was great with animals, that she respected them, that they never bothered her. And I believed that she believed it. It is even mostly true. Animals probably did love her, but being good with animals is a sentence that only ever means good with the animals you have already met, and she had never met this one. And there is a deeper trap hidden inside being good with animals, and I have watched it work on people better than I can usually explain to them in time. A lifetime of animals trusting you teaches your body, below thinking, that you can read them, that you would feel it coming if one meant you harm, that your instincts around living things are good. And for dogs and horses and the animals we grew up beside, maybe they are. But those instincts were built reading faces, and a Gila monster has no face you can read. It does not warn you the way a dog warns you. It does not growl or flatten or show you its intent in any language your instincts speak. It simply tolerates, and then, the instant you cross the one line, it acts with no buildup you could have felt. Being good with animals had trained Renee to trust a sense that this animal does not broadcast on, and she trusted it right up to the moment it closed its jaw. There was a man on that same trail that week, and I bring him up on purpose, because he is the whole of what the difference looks like. He came back to the trailhead grinning, and he told me he had seen a Gila monster out on the trail right in the open, and I braced, the way I do now, and then he said the best sentence a person can say to me. He said he had stood there and watched it for 10 minutes and taken a dozen photos, and it had never moved, and it was the coolest thing he had seen all year, and then he had walked around it and left it be. That is it. That is the entire skill. That is the whole difference between the man telling me a great story at the trailhead and the woman I am telling you about now, and it was not knowledge because Renee knew as much about that animal as he did. It was one small decision about his hands. Renee and Kim hiked out under the climbing sun, and for 2 miles it was a good day, and I have no doubt it was beautiful because it is. And then, about 2 miles from the car, out where the trail runs through open desert with nothing around it and nothing above it, Renee saw the Gila monster. It was just sitting there. That is what they do. It was doing nothing, going nowhere, a slow, ancient animal out for one of the few days a year it comes up into the light. And Renee wanted it, not to hurt it. She wanted to hold it, to feel it, to have the picture, the way she had held 100 harmless things in her life, and she crouched down over it, and Kim said the thing that should have been the whole story. Kim said, "Leave it alone," and Renee said, "It is harmless," and she picked it up. Let me stop right here, because this is the hinge of the entire thing, and everything before this instant was completely fine, and everything after it was not. 2 seconds earlier, she was a healthy woman on a good hike 2 miles from her car. She closed her hand around a wild animal, and the animal did the one thing it has, the only thing, the thing I had described out loud at the trailhead that morning, and the day turned over. It bit her hand, and it held on. That is the thing people do not understand about this animal, and it is the thing that makes it so much worse than a snake. A rattlesnake strikes and lets go and is gone, and the wound is done being made in a fraction of a second. A Gila monster is not built like that. When it bites, it clamps down with a jaw that will not open, and it hangs on and it works its jaw, and the venom runs into the wound the whole time it holds, which means the longer it stays attached, the worse the bite becomes, and it does not want to let go, and you cannot easily make it. People have had to walk to water and hold the animal under to get it to release. Some have had to pry the jaws with a tool. It can hold on for a minute, for several, and every second it holds, it is grinding, working, and the venom does not shoot in the way a snake's does. It seeps in through grooves in the teeth by the slow, steady work of the jaw, so that the bite is not an event that happens and is over, it is a process that keeps happening for as long as the animal is attached. Renee did not have water to spare, and did not know that trick and would not have been calm enough to do it, because there is a searing animal panic that comes with a wild thing locked onto your hand that will not come off, and she did what anyone does. She pulled, and pulling a Gila monster tears the wound and works the venom deeper, and makes everything worse. Every instinct a frightened person has out there is wrong, and there is no one 2 miles from the car to tell them so. By the time it finally let go, the damage was done, and the second half of this began. The half that actually killed her, and it has almost nothing to do with what most people fear. Here is the truth about Gila monster venom, and I want to be precise, because the precision is the lesson. It is very rarely fatal to a healthy adult, People survive these bites. If Renee had picked that animal up in a parking lot or in her backyard or anywhere with a road and a phone and a hospital an hour away, she would almost certainly be alive today, in pain, telling a story, wiser. The venom itself was probably never going to be the thing that ended her. What the venom does, what it is ferociously good at, is take you apart in a different way. The pain is immediate and enormous, some of the worst pain there is, a deep burning that climbs the arm, then the swelling spreading up from the hand, then weakness, then your blood pressure drops, sometimes hard and fast so that you go faint and gray and cannot stand without the world tilting. Then nausea and vomiting, which out there is not just misery, it is water leaving a body that had none to spare, sweating. A person in the middle of all of that is not dying of venom. They are being systematically stripped of the one thing that would save them, which is the ability to walk. And think about what each of those does out there, specifically in the heat. The pain alone would stop most people from doing anything but curling around it. The dropping blood pressure means every time she tried to stand and go, the desert tilted and grayed and put her back down. The vomiting was pouring out the water she needed to survive the heat, so the bite and the sun were working the same side of the street, both of them emptying her at once. And all of it landed on a body that was already, before any of this, doing the hard, quiet work of staying alive in 110 degrees, a body that had no reserve to spend on a crisis because the heat was already spending all of it. The venom did not have to be lethal. It only had to be enough to keep her from walking for a couple of hours. And out there, a couple of hours of not walking is all it takes. And that is the whole of it. That is why the title of this is not about a lizard. Renee was 2 miles from her car. On any normal morning, 2 miles is nothing, a 40-minute walk, a warm-up. But 2 miles when you cannot stand up without fainting, when you are vomiting out your water, when your arm is a swollen, useless weight, and your blood pressure will not let you rise, in 110 degrees with no shade and no more water is not 2 miles. It is the far side of the moon. The Gila monster did not kill Renee. It could not. What it did was take away her legs, 2 miles out in the heat, and in this desert, anything that takes away your legs is a death sentence, no matter how gentle the animal that did it. Let me ask you something, because this one is not really about a lizard. When was the last time you called something harmless and acted on it, and you were even right that the thing itself was harmless without ever once stopping to ask the only question that mattered, which is harmless where? Harmless when? Harmless with what around you? Tell me below, because that is the whole trap she walked into. The word harmless felt like a complete sentence to her, and it is not one. It is only ever the first half. The second half is always in this situation, and she never said the second half, and the second half was where she was. Kim did everything right, and it was not enough, and she is going to carry that for the rest of her life, which is a cruelty of its own. She could not carry Renee. You cannot carry a grown adult 2 miles across open desert in that heat, not without dying yourself, and Kim knew it. She got Renee into what little shade a person can make out there, which is almost none, and she left her the last of the water, and then she did the only thing left, which was run. 2 miles back toward the trailhead in 110 degrees to reach a signal or a person or the road, running her own body toward its own edge to try to beat a clock that had already mostly run out. I want you to feel what that run was, because Kim did not just go for help, she gambled her own life to do it. 2 miles back the way they had come, in full sun at 110 degrees, is itself a thing that kills people, and she did it at a run, with no water left because she had given it to Renee, pushing her own body toward the exact edge Renee had already gone over, because there was no other option and no time to be careful. That is not a small thing to ask of a person, and she did it without hesitating. And she has to live now with having done everything a human being could do and still coming up against a distance that does not bend for courage. She made it. She got the call out. And the response for these things is genuinely good, and the people who came are extraordinary at what they do, and it did not matter, because the distance had already decided this. By the time anyone could cross those 2 miles of desert to reach a woman who could not cross them herself, too much time had passed. In too much heat, for a body that had been emptied out by pain and vomiting and a plummeting pressure it could not recover. I'm not going to walk you through her last hour, and I'm not going to put you out there with her, because she was a real person, and this channel has a line I will not cross. She was found 2 miles from her car, and the ruling was heat-related, with the bite named as the reason she could not get herself out. That is the honest medical shape of it. Not death by venom, death by heat, made possible by a bite, made possible by a hand closing on an animal that never wanted to be touched. 2 seconds of impulse against a lifetime of never coming back. If any of this reached you, do the small thing that carries it to the next person about to reach for a beautiful, wild thing that is minding its own business. Like this video, so it finds someone with their hand halfway down instead of a comment section, and subscribe so you're here for the next one. Not for me, and not for a number on a screen. Do it so that one more confident, animal-loving, capable person somewhere sees something slow and stunning in the trail, and takes the picture and keeps their hands to themselves and walks the 2 miles back to the car on their own 2 legs, which is the only way anyone ever walks out of here. I have thought about this more than almost any of them, and here is where it leaves me. She was not wrong about the animal. I want to say that plainly one more time, because it is the strange heart of this. The Gila monster was exactly as harmless as she said it was. It did not want her. It was not hunting her. It bit her for one reason and one reason only, which is that a wild creature with no other defense had a giant grab it out of its own life, and it did the single thing it had. And even then, even biting, it was not trying to kill her and could not have. It was trying to be put down. That is all a Gila monster bite ever is. It is an animal saying as loudly as it can in the only language it has, "Please let go." The thing that killed Renee was not the lizard and was never going to be the lizard. It was the desert, and it was the distance. And it was a rule about this place that she forgot for the 2 seconds it took to close her hand, which is that out here you cannot afford to be hurt by anything. This is the thing I wish every person who walked past my desk truly understood, down in the body where it would change what they do. In the desert, your legs are your whole life support system. Not your water, though you need it, not your phone, though it helps. Your legs. The entire plan, always for everyone, is that you will walk yourself back out to the car, and every other safety measure is just there to keep your legs working long enough to do that. Which means the most dangerous thing that can happen to you out here is not any single dramatic disaster. It is anything, large or small, that takes your legs away, because the moment you cannot walk, every mile between you and the road becomes a wall, and the heat has all the time it needs. A rattlesnake can do it, a bad fall can do it, a rolled ankle on the wrong day can do it, and yes, a slow, gentle, harmless lizard, if you're foolish enough to pick it up, can do it too. Not a little. Not a lizard, not a fall, not a twisted ankle, not a bee. In a city, harmless small injuries stay small, because help is close and shade is close and water is close. Out here, there is no such thing as a small injury 2 miles from the car in the heat, because the walkout is the whole margin of your life, and anything at all that takes the walkout away from you can kill you. And the desert does not care in the slightest, whether it was a rattlesnake or a rock or a slow, gentle lizard that had done nothing to anyone until a hand came down out of the sky. There is a version of respect for wild things that looks like love and is actually danger, and it is the version that reaches out, that holds, that has to touch the beautiful thing to prove the closeness. Renee had that version, and it came from a good place, from genuinely caring about animals, and it killed her. Real respect for a wild animal in a wild place looks like distance. It looks like being thrilled to see it and content to let it stay a stranger. The people who love this desert the most are the ones who touch it the least, and that is not coldness. It is the deepest kind of care, because it keeps both of you alive, the animal and the person, each left to their own life. Leave them alone. Not because they will hurt you. Most of them will not if you let them be. Leave them alone because you cannot afford the version of the day where one of them finally does, and because the animal, the beautiful, slow, harmless animal, deserves to go back down its burrow and live, and because the only thing you were ever going to bring home from picking it up was a photograph. And there has never once been a photograph worth the walk you needed those legs for. She was right. It was harmless, and she died 2 miles from her car anyway, on a warm, bright morning, because harmless was never the question, and the desert was the answer the whole time. The lizard went back to its burrow. It is probably still out there, slow and beautiful and doing nothing to anyone, exactly as harmless as she said. Waiting for the next hand that forgets the desert is the thing to be afraid of. This has been Doomed Departures. Stay safe, and we will see you on the next one.